Welcome to the Retiring Canada podcast, where our mission is to educate and empower you to make the most informed, rational, and productive financial decisions. Hosted by certified financial planner, author, and chartered investment manager Michael Isbister, you'll go behind the scenes to uncover the tips and strategies to help you invest smarter, optimize your retirement income, and reduce the amount of tax you pay. Michael is an investment advisor with Fundamental Wealth, a trade name of Harbourfront Wealth Management, an IROC dealer. And now, here's your host, Michael Isbister.
Hello everyone, and welcome again to the Retiring Canada podcast. In today's episode, we're going to discuss delaying government pensions. Specifically, I'm going to chat about the basics of CPP and OAS, 3 real-world scenarios, the potential highest tax bracket you will ever be in, how to factor in your overall tax plan, the reality of planning for individuals, and lastly, as always, a few action items for you to consider. So today I'm going to discuss some strategies and some reasoning behind delaying government benefits, specifically old age security and the Canadian pension plan. Now, I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on the nuances of each pension. Rather, I'd like to share specific scenarios I've come across that warranted a delay of CPP and OAS, in some cases all the way to age 70. So without getting into too much detail, a quick breakdown of CPP and OAS. CPP income is based on the contributions made during your working years. If you take your CPP pension before age 65, the amount you receive is permanently reduced. If you take it at 65, you receive the full amount, and if you delay past 65 as late as age 70, you receive a permanent increase to your benefit. For OAS, no contributions are required. The only impact on this benefit is the number of years you have been a resident of Canada. If that number is less than 40 years, your OAS will be reduced proportionately. Now, you can start OAS at 65 to get your full benefit, or delay as late as age 70 to have a permanent increase to this benefit. So let's get right into some real-world scenarios that warranted delaying government benefits. The first scenario is the sale of a property or asset that triggered a capital gain. Now, over the last 18 months, we have had 2 occasions where clients have sold a property, one being a rental property and the other a vacation property, where the primary residence exemption was not claimed. In both of these scenarios, the OAS pension had already started for one of the spouses, and shortly after, a property was sold and a capital gain was triggered. Now, in these scenarios, the spouse who had started their OAS was now in a position where they would have their complete OAS pension clawed back in July the following year because of this taxable event. So rather than collecting OAS for 8 months and then completely losing the benefit the subsequent 12 months due to the full OAS recovery tax, we opted to reverse the OAS start date and delay OAS until the following income year was complete. Now, a few crucial things to point out here. When you start your OAS pension, you have up to 6 months to cancel the benefit. This means you have to pay the money you received back to the government, but it also means you can now delay the pension now that your circumstances have changed. So with these couples, it happened to work out that they were both within that 6-month window to reverse the start date, giving us the ability to implement this strategy. Now, granted, had we known the properties were being sold, we would have been proactive and asked them to delay the start dates altogether. But that's life. Sometimes things change, and our job as advisors is to be responsive and update their retirement and tax plan as life happens. Regardless, being able to implement this strategy had some massive value. First, an OAS recovery tax, or clawback as it's sometimes referred to, is an effective 15% tax on income over the threshold. So as an example in Saskatchewan, if your marginal tax rate is 33%, income you earned over the OAS threshold attracts an effective tax rate of 48%. The highest marginal rate in Saskatchewan for 2024 is 47.5. If you are a pensioner that has an asset sale that bumps you into OAS clawback threshold, you are now the highest marginal taxpayer in the province. Let that sink in. Now, the second part of this strategy that delivered massive value is the now permanent increase to the OAS benefit. Furthermore, this permanent increase is also compounded annually as the Government of Canada indexes this benefit to keep pace with the Consumer Price Index. Now, to put that into numbers, by delaying 2 years, there was an annual increase to this pension of approximately $10,000 a year versus $8,700 a year annually if taken at 65. The key here is that a full year of regular pension would have been completely lost due to the OAS clawback that was triggered by the asset sale. This means that the crossover point between starting OAS at 65 and delaying is negligible. All right, so the second scenario where delaying of a government pension plan can make a lot of sense is the consideration of the tax valley. So what do I mean by tax valley? Well, this is the time between work and the start of your pensions like CPP, OAS, and other defined benefit pensions. Just the other day, we met with some clients where one of the spouses was beginning to slow down with work as he entered his 60s. His career is pretty flexible, so he'll probably pick away a bit more and earn a little bit more money, but believes he will get that retirement bug and fully step away before the age of 65. To give a bit more context to this story, he also had around $1 million in RRSPs and liras, and his spouse around $400,000 in RRSPs. Now, in this scenario, once his income at work started to get below a certain threshold, we'll start to consider tax planning strategies to draw down on his registered accounts, even if the money isn't needed for lifestyle spending. We now juggle the CPP and OAS start date discussion with a full understanding of how their retirement income is taxed. Now, there is no one-size-fits-all strategy here. Every situation is nuanced. But in their case, it will be crucial to draw down on these registered accounts at an optimal tax bracket, reinvest the after-tax proceeds into tax-free or tax-efficient investments, free up tax-paid dollars for future lump sum needs, and delay the start of CPP and OAS to help minimize lifetime tax payable while securing their retirement with higher guaranteed fixed pensions. So why do all this? Let's fast forward and say now that these clients are 80 years old. If we do nothing and let the RRSPs and liras compound without proper tax planning in their 60s, the lifetime tax liability is enormous. First off, if one of the spouses dies prematurely, the registered accounts would roll over to the surviving spouse tax deferred. However, all of the income being paid out is now 100% taxable to that spouse going forward, which in their case would most certainly lead to a high income and a full OAS clawback in the future. Furthermore, when the second spouse passes away, the estate would pay a massive tax bill, as registered accounts like RIFs and RSPs are 100% taxable to the estate. That said, I still come across scenarios where prospective clients have been advised to start their CPP and OAS early and delay or reduce withdrawals from their registered accounts without truly considering the tax consequences of this decision now and in the future. Furthermore, I believe there could even be a conflict of interest in this kind of planning scenario between the advisor and client. Think about it. If an advisor tells you to start your government pensions early, it means less money comes out of the investments you have with them, and the more advisory fees can be charged. Now, by no means do I think this practice is commonplace, but I do believe most individuals using an advisor would never think of this potential conflict of interest. At the end of the day, proper planning should consider tax planning, not just investment planning. This is where true planning value is created and trust is built. Now, the last scenario that warrants delaying CPP and OAS is a little less about the numbers and more about what feels right. I helped a couple retire last year, and the inevitable CPP and OAS start date discussion came up as it always does. Now, in their case, after completing a retirement plan for them, it was clear that delaying CPP and OAS was the best option. That is, assuming they both lived to age 92. With that in mind, one of the options I presented to them was to hedge their start dates by having the older spouse start immediately at age 65 and the younger spouse delay to age 67. This way, the older spouse can start extracting money from their pensions, while the younger spouse will delay slightly to enhance their benefits permanently. So even though the computer software was able to help me pinpoint the pension start dates and ensure that whichever option they chose, they could still retire, the realities of life and what felt right to them changed those start dates slightly. Now, a part of my role as your advisor isn't just to tell you what to do. It's to give you the options to help you make an informed, educated decision. But hey, if you prefer to fully delegate your decision making, I'm good at that too. You can ask my wife. Okay, that will do it for today. I hope you found these scenarios helpful in your own situation. And if, you could take a moment and leave us a 5-star review in your favorite podcast app, that would really help the show and it would be very much appreciated. So your action items for today. First off, if you find yourself nearing or in the midst of that tax valley, be sure to take a step back and make a tax plan that factors in all your sources of income to optimize your situation now and in the future. Next, if you haven't started your planning quite yet, be sure to request a CPP estimate, as this will help your planner or you determine if delaying government benefits is right for you and your household. And lastly, if you find yourself to be unsure of what to do next, be sure to check out our fundamental retirement plan process on our website. Okay, so that'll do it for today's episode. Make sure you add us to all your socials, LinkedIn, Facebook. Be sure to sign up for that weekly Retiring Canada newsletter. And hey, when it comes to your retirement, don't take chances. Make a plan so you can retire with confidence.
All comments are of a general nature and should not be relied upon as individual advice. The views and opinions expressed in this commentary may not necessarily reflect those of Harbourfront Wealth Management. While every attempt is made to ensure accuracy, facts and figures are not guaranteed. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing or tax advice. Please seek advice from your accountant regarding anything raised in the content of the podcast regarding your individual tax situation. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.